The dry season chokes the savanna. A stranger with bloody ambitions appears, tearing apart the peace of the dynasty. The moment the throne is overthrown, opens the bloodiest tragedy. But when order is turned upside down in the blink of an eye, what will happen when the one who ascends to the throne is more ruthless? Lions fight for mating rights. The most cruel war. The dry season descends on the savanna like an ancient curse, choking every blade of grass, dyeing the ground a burnt yellow-gray. The wind blows through the thorny acacia bushes, carrying the hot soil and the smell of never-ending wars. In the middle of this vast grassland, a low red rock mound rises like an old throne of royalty, where the Mavara lions have lived through 4 seasons of rain and sun. The female group lies scattered around the foot of the rock, their golden bodies stretched out in the thin shade, occasionally lifting their heads to watch the cubs chasing each other at their feet. High above Kaito, the dominant male for many years, stood tall on the rocky outcrop, his dark gray mane fluttering in the wind, his eyes always watching the slightest movement on the cracked grasslands. This was a territory he had held with blood, with claws, and with a roar that made the savanna hold its breath. From that mound, the view stretched endlessly, red strips curving along dry stream banks, herds of antelope lurking in grassy valleys. Beyond them, rocky slopes where hyenas often prowled at dusk. They were one of the largest herds in the area, and the land they held was also the most coveted, where underground water made the grass green later than elsewhere, where antelopes flocked each dawn to graze, where vultures gathered on dead branches to await the feast of the strongest predator. Here, everything smells of power, earth, wind, dust, the last light of day all swirling around the roar of the dominant male. But the savanna has never been a stable throne. Far to the north, where the red dust swirls in hazy bands, a strange smell is approaching. The smell of ambition, of youth, of those ready to challenge the order Kaito has kept for so many years. The savanna is about to change color. The Mavara are about to enter a new chapter, bloodier, fiercer, and more ruthless than nature has ever been. The fiery afternoon slides down the savanna, covering everything in a thick red like dried blood. Kaito stands on the cliff, his frayed mane shaking slightly in the hot wind. When the wind shifts, carrying a strange smell, young and sharp like a newly sharpened knife. At the same time, the ground beneath the female flock trembled slightly. and the red dust to the north flared up, stretching out in a hazy line that rolled straight toward the rocky mound like an approaching storm. Then they appeared. Two dark yellow figures, large, solid, broad-shouldered, their manes as black as smoldering coals. They did not hide, did not lurk. They marched straight, each step pressing down on the air, as if the savanna had long belonged to them. Rano's roar tore through the evening sky, reverberating off the rocks, off the dust, off the cubs huddled at their mother's feet. And when Juru roared back, the ground seemed to split in two. Kaito leaped down the rocky slope. Sand shot up with each step, his mane standing upright like the last flame of a former king. The two sides crashed into each other like a thunderclap, a collision of mane, teeth, flesh, and dust, the muffled roar torn to pieces in the chaos. Claws scraped skin, teeth aimed at the flesh unprotected by the mane. Hot blood sprayed across the trembling ground. In that moment, the savanna held its breath. And Kaito, who had protected this land through 4 dry seasons, 4 rainy seasons, was only a beat slower. An off-center charge, a moment of stagger. Rano took advantage of the gap, as if he had waited his whole life for this moment. The leader of the pack was surrounded, thrown down. The females roared, pulling the cub back, red dust billowing like smoke from a battlefield. Kaito tried to get up, but his left knee gave way, betraying him in a split second of life and death. Juru lunged from behind, teeth digging into his hip, pulling him sideways like a tree torn up by a storm. The red afternoon light brushed against its face, and for the first time in years, Kaito backed away. A triumphant roar rang out from Rano, long, deep, cold like a slash to the soul of the pack. And in that red afternoon, the former king of Mavara was driven from his own territory. The red dust gradually settled after the chaos, revealing bloodstains on the dry grass, like the vestiges of a dynasty that had just collapsed. Kaito had disappeared into the dark strip of acacia bushes in the distance, leaving behind the heavy breathing of the females and the soft moans of the cubs who had not yet understood what was happening. There was no longer the familiar oppressive roar from the top of the rock. There was no longer the heavy breathing of the former leader. The Mavara territory, accustomed to Kaito's presence, suddenly felt coldly empty. The first effect came immediately. Rano and Juru did not pursue. They did not need to. The victory was clear enough. They circled the rock mound like two people taking inventory of their newly acquired property. Each step left deep hoof prints, each brush of their manes against the bushes like a declaration of sovereignty. The lionesses pressed their cubs together, eyes glaring, ears flat, bodies taut as bowstrings. In the long silence, there was only one sound, the distorted rhythm of each individual's heart beating. And it was in this heaviness that the law of the lion began to unfold. On the savanna, the victory of a male alliance was more than a change of position on the ledge. It was the beginning of a cruel cycle. A cycle that all apex predators understood, but few executed as thoroughly as lions. When a new alliance took power, the first thing they did was not to eat, not to rest, but to eliminate any genetic traces of their predecessor. The cubs curled up under their mother's belly, soft as newly sprouted grass, were living proof of Kaito. The next afternoon, for lions, cub killing isn't a senseless cruelty, it's a genetic survival instinct. When the old cubs die, the female's body stops nursing and goes into heat, allowing the new alliance to infuse its blood into the pride as quickly as possible. Savanna has no room for emotion. The females know this better than any other species. And it's that knowledge that fills their eyes with panic. The wind carries the scent of old blood from the fight, mixed with the scent of young milk and the adrenaline of the females. Rano and Juru don't attack right away, but they begin to approach the circle where the cubs huddle, their golden eyes scanning each small shadow as if assessing it. The sun hangs directly overhead, its light so white it seems to burn the Mavara's fur. The air is so hot that the breath rises from the mouths of the lionesses like thin wisps of smoke. They stood pressed together, their bodies trembling, not with fear of the male, but with fear of what was about to befall their young. Nalia could hear her baby's heart beating under her belly, fast and out of rhythm. She felt the warmth of her baby through the dusty fur, the warmth she had guarded since the night it was born. A warmth that, if she thought of losing, would cause her whole world to collapse. But Rano saw. Her calmness choked the females more than her roar. Her gaze was not fierce, it was empty, as if the young were not lives, but merely aberrations that needed to be corrected. It was the gaze of a male whose memory of the one he had overthrown was still hot in his throat. Nalia was startled when her baby stirred slightly, its head peeking out from under its mother's feet. It was only a blink, but enough for Rano to accelerate. Nalia lunged forward before a thought could form. Its body bounced off the ground as if thrown by an invisible force. All its emotions gathered into a throaty roar, the roar of a heart trying to break the laws of its species. It hit Rano first. The impact sent them both sliding across the grass. Rano jerked away, but Nalia clung on as if her claws could hold the world. Her eyes were red, not the color of anger, but of desperate protection for her child. But Juru had already squeezed into the space on the left, where the tiny breath of her child was first heard. The baby cried softly. The cry that came out vibrated in Nalia's heart like the sound of metal scraping against stone. Nalia turned her head to look in that direction, and that very look destroyed all efforts. Juru bit immediately. A short, sharp bite. Without hesitation, the small head tilted back. The blue-gray eyes widened in surprise. That moment tore Nalia's soul apart. The small body hit the ground again, so light that the dust could not follow. Nalia crawled over, her tongue trembling as it touched the cub's fur, licking its cheek again, this time not to clean, but to try to shake a soul that was no longer there. There was no heartbeat. But only the sound of the wind blowing through the grass, the sound so indifferent it was cruel. The female stood behind, eyes wide, ears flat. A young mother let out a low hiss, trying to contain her own pain at the sight. They all understood. Today was Nalia's turn, but tomorrow it could be theirs. In front, Rano stood still, not roaring, not advancing. He watched the scene as if watching a stain being erased from his territory. In his world, this was not a crime. This was order. A strong wind swept through, sand swirling, clinging to Nalia's fur as she leaned close to the corpse, her body shivering as if trying to hold on to the last of her warmth. The savanna glowed in the sun. The smell of her young's blood mixed with the hot earth, like a message engraved on this land. Nature does not allow all love to be protected. The midday sun had passed its peak, but the heat still rose from the ground like an invisible fire, distorting the air around the Mavara. After the attack, the space where the young lay became an open wound for the entire pack. Nalia stood slowly, each movement heavy as if dragging along the torn soul. The other females looked at her. No one touched her. No one comforted her. In the savanna, loss was something each individual had to bear. But their gazes had changed. The alertness of the morning had been replaced by a thicker layer of silence, as if the pack were cowering before a storm whose path they could not predict. Rano did not look at Nalia. He turned his back, walked along the edge of the rocky mound, marking his territory with silent brushstrokes. No roar, no show of strength. The action was slow, calm, heavier than any declaration. In his new territory, every breath would have to change. Juru chose differently. He lay down in the hot, disturbed ground, his body casting a long shadow that seemed to cover every entrance and exit of the pack. It did not attack again, but its presence, heavy, solid, unmoving, forced the pack to adjust their positions, step by step, as if the ground had reshaped itself. And as the sunlight faded to burnt copper, a sense of uncertainty crept across the savanna. The new kingship had arrived, but what it brought with it, no one knew whether it would push the Mavara toward peace or toward another bloodbath. By evening, Rano's shadow was long enough to cover the spot where Nalia's child had lain. The savanna said nothing, but the wind blew across the slopes like a warning. A new king always came with a price that the pack had to pay. Would the Mavara accept the new order? Would the females find a way to protect the next generation? Or would they witness loss again? And the one who had just been stripped of his throne? Would he disappear into the darkness? Or would he return like a dying ember? A last blaze. Savannah is still writing that story. And we still don't know what the next journey will be. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. The giant's claws pulled him down as if to tear the savanna apart. But only a roar from the buffalo herd echoed back. Could the hunter now keep his life? The indomitable giant. The black buffalo's rage makes the lion run away. Dawn crept over the horizon, dragging a thin golden light over the cracked plains. The dry grass tilted in the wind, revealing the fine dust that floated in the cold air, left over from the night before. From afar, the ground seemed to tremble. The sound was deep, steady, and heavy like the drums of an ancient tribe. The herd of Cape buffalo appeared, dense and dense, like a river slowly flowing through the savanna. In the middle of that flow, one figure stood out above all. Kubu, a mature male with a broad back like a mountainside smoothed by time. His black fur was covered with a thin layer of frost, his sharp curved horns gleaming in the morning light like two axes forged through countless rainy seasons. His eyes were calm, but hidden within them was a layer of coldness of someone who had lived through too many trials of fire. Kubu left the herd earlier than any other individual. He walked slowly toward the muddy ground that still had some moisture left. His heavy feet each step seemed to stamp a mark of power on the ground. The cool mud clung to his two front hooves, cooling the heat in his massive body. When he lowered his head, his breath came out in two white mists that gradually dissipated into the air. Behind, the buffalo herd continued their journey. The dust rose in hazy streaks, wrapping around the early morning sunlight to form a thin curtain hanging over the steppe. Above, the sky was clear and quiet, as if holding back its own breath. No roars, no sounds of hunters. But the silence was not peace, but rather the moment before a great storm, when everything stood still, waiting for an invisible violence to come. In Africa, there was a creature that few wanted to confront. Not the lion, not the hyena. But the giant that carried the storm that never ceased. Kubu raised his head, staring straight at the endless savanna. His eyes showed no warning, but somewhere a small tremor came from the ground. No predator appeared, but his instincts knew. Something was watching his every step. Not a sound, just a tiny change in the wind that only those who lived long enough could read. The savanna beneath him lit up bit by bit, but in that light, another darkness was rising from the far edge of the land. A danger that did not roar, did not rush, but was approaching. And Kubu, the indomitable giant, was the first to feel it. The savanna shifted as the sun rose a little further. The last of the dew evaporated from the grass and left the ground dry as if under a curse. Kubu left the mud. The dirt stuck to his feet, falling in small, dark brown flakes. Heat began to rise from his giant body, and with it an alertness more instinctive than any sense known to man. Then a slight movement crept through the air. Not a sound, not a tremor. Just a change in wind, carrying a very thin, very faint, fishy smell, but enough to make Kubu raise his head. The plovers pecking at insects under the grass suddenly shot straight up into the air, scattering into a small cloud. They didn't cry. They just flew. And the way they flew was what told the savanna that something was coming. In this land, what you hear is not necessarily scary, but what you don't hear is often the end. Kubu stood still, his ears swiveling slightly like two wind-detecting fans. A moment of unusual silence lasted. The familiar sounds of insects and grass rustling all disappeared, as if someone had used a hand to extinguish them. Under the tall grass on the right, a pale yellow curve was crawling slowly. The breath of the creature behind it was so thin that it almost blended with the wind. Three low, long, compressed yellow shadows approached bit by bit. Lionesses. Masters of the arts disappeared, but always present. Their fur blended perfectly with the burnt grass. Their eyes did not blink, did not hurry. Each step was light, as if the savanna were supporting each hoof. Kubu did not see them yet. But the savanna did. And the savanna spoke to him in a language only those who had lived long enough could understand. The herd of buffalo, which had been there before sunrise, lifted their heads a little higher, stretched their nostrils, and inhaled deeply. The smell was more distinct. The smell of lion fur, the scent of the hunting grounds that had lingered since the night before, the scent of a pack that had followed. A gap opened in the grass. Not large. The size of a small antelope. But that was all the lion needed to choose its target. Kubu was the target. Not the herd, not the calves. But the one who had been cut off from the mainstream, standing in the middle of the clearing without a guard. The three lions stopped in the grass. The wind slowed. One of them lifted its head, its yellow eyes more visible through the grass. Their breathing was low. Their bodies were taut as bowstrings. No roars, no footsteps. Only the cold certainty of three hunters preparing to right the end of a giant. Kubu didn't know they were there. He only knew the savanna was out of rhythm. The birds stopped. There was no reason for things to stop like this, except for one. Cape buffalo are born the size of a rock, but attacks are always aimed at the moment they are alone. Kubu stood there, bathed in the early morning light, his breathing heavy, his gaze creeping across the grass, where three deadly shadows were compressed, waiting for the right moment. In the savanna, there was no siren. There was only a single moment when hunter and prey looked in the same direction, and the space between them began to narrow. A very small sound rang out from the grass, but it was enough to make Kubu instinctively turn his head. At that moment, the ground right next to his waist exploded, as if someone had pulled the grass carpet. A lioness jumped straight onto his back. The entire weight of nearly 150 kilograms hit Kubu's back, causing him to tilt his body. Its claws dug deep into the thick skin, creating two long, crimson tears. The savanna exploded. Kubu jerked his body, all the muscles under the black skin rolled up like stretched ropes. The lion on his back was jerked back half a beat, but its claws clung tightly, not letting go. A sharp bite hit his hind leg. Kubu fell to the ground with one leg. At this moment, any buffalo could have ended. And most did. The savanna seemed to freeze in a single moment. Buffalo and lion, earth and blood, wind and breath, all mingled in the chaos of a perfect ambush. Kubu tried to stand, but his legs trembled with every step. The weight of the three predators was pulling his center of gravity down, inch by inch, as if to sink his massive body into the ground. The buffalo fell. That would be the end. Far behind, the buffalo herd began to make noise. A few of the females let out low, drum-like bellows. They couldn't see Kubu, but they sensed the disturbance from the ground through their hooves, a signal the species trusted more than any other sense. The herd was turning. Far away. Kubu was still trapped between the claws of three hunters, born to kill with persistence. A new wind blew, not carrying the scent of lions, not the scent of buffalo, but the scent of death, the kind of scent that only appears when the savanna knows the end of a creature. Just as Kubu seemed about to fall, the ground shook again, stronger, thicker, as if dozens of boulders were rolling down the distant hills toward the battle. A deep, rolling, roaring sound rose from deep within the earth like muffled thunder. The buffalo herd had returned. And this time, they were not running. Black shadows emerged through the dust, large, heavy, shoulders as broad as cliffs. Each pair of curved horns pointed straight at the lions, gleaming coldly in the sun. Their eyes were dark red, filled with the primitive anger that only appeared when the herd was threatened. A young bull roared first. The roar tore through the wind, scraping through dry trees and slamming into the lions trying to hold the perimeter. The lioness on Kubu's back raised her head, her ears twitching. She heard that sound, the sound that signaled death could come from a direction she did not expect. Two other buffaloes charged from two directions, their massive bodies tearing dust from their hooves. One jumped up the small slope, putting all its weight on its horns, and then rammed straight into the side of the lion that was biting Kubu's leg. The lion was thrown off the ground, spun in the air, and fell hard into the dust, curling up in pain. It roared weakly, trying to stand up, but one leg was already broken. The savanna shook. This was no longer a hunt. This was a counterattack by those who never abandoned their own kind. A female buffalo, but her eyes lit up like two burning embers, charged at the lion that was about to leap. She charged forward, her horns hooking the soft flesh under the lion's belly, lifting it off the ground for a brief moment. A sharp screech echoed. the sound of a flesh being cut by something not meant to be cut. The lion fell, rolling on the ground, dust swirling around it. In that moment, the hunter's pride was crushed by the madness of the buffalo herd. The strength of the entire savanna gathered into one mass. The other buffaloes rushed forward in an arc, heads bowed, breathing like angry war horses. They stomped hard, the dirt under their hooves exploding with dust like small mines. In that circle, each lioness understood what books never told her. A hunter could also die under the horns of this prey. A lion tried to roar in threat, but was answered by 3 stomps from 3 different directions. The air shook. The grass bent in time with the angry rhythm of the buffalo herd. There was no choice. The leader of the herd took a step back. Then 2. He half-turned, his eyes still torn between Kubu and the surrounding buffalo. But instinct told him that a second's delay here could see him torn apart. The other 2 followed, low to the ground, tails drooping in confusion and fear. They retreated, not roaring, not turning, the silence the predator's most grievous admission of defeat. In the dust, Kubu breathed heavily, in bursts like bellows whistling over hot metal. An old bull approached, gently touching his horns to his flank, not to ask, but to confirm that his member was not dead. Black eyes followed the fleeing lions. No chase, no show. Just standing there, fierce and full of power, as if the savanna had just witnessed the return of a throneless dynasty. And in the center of the encirclement, Kubu lifted his head, his breathing shallow. The buffalo knew they had won. Not because the lions had fled, but because they had fought as a unified force that would have made even Africa's most fearsome predator retreat. The sun was creeping westward, stretching the buffalo herd's shadows across the cracked earth. The dust of battle had settled, leaving only the dried blood on Kubu's back and the deep hoof prints where they had stood. The afternoon wind carried the scent of dry grass, the scent of the lion's defeat fading into the evening light. Kubu walked slowly, but each step was as sure as a stake driven into the savanna. Oxpeckers landed on his back, rummaging through the scratches, picking up the torn skin that had been the clearest sign of a battle that had nearly cost him his life. Beside him, the young buffalo moved closer, a few pairs of young eyes looking up at his massive body, as if looking at a rock they believed would never fall. In this land, there are those who are called kings, but there are those who do not need a throne and still force all other species to be wary. A single black buffalo can fall before its claws. But a herd of black buffalo in a rage can make even the hunter run away to save his life. The herd gradually moved away from the blood-soaked ground, merging into the sea of yellow grass, turning color under the sunset. Tomorrow there will be new hunts, new deaths, new challenges between tusks and curved horns. But today the savanna chose to remember one thing. There are battles where the prey does not bow, and there are moments when the power of the herd is greater than the title of predator. Kubu did not look back. He just kept walking, carrying fresh wounds and an old truth that the savanna had whispered for ages. As long as those horns stand straight, the storm in this giant's chest will never be extinguished. Savanna still has many secrets. We have only just begun to open the first door. If the story of this indomitable giant has captivated you, there are many other battles waiting for you out there, where the hunter can become the runner and the prey can become a legend. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next survival journeys among the red dust, fangs, and horns of the savanna warriors. Like and share if you want more people to see the power of those who seem to be born to run.